Welcome to the 41st annual Muertos de la Risa, hosted by SGA Youth Family Services. Muertos de la Risa is an event that celebrates Dia de los Muertos, or Day of the Dead. It is rooted in Mexican and indigenous tradition. The day marks a joyous occasion of remembrance in honor and memory of loved ones that have passed away. My name is Andres J. Fernandez, your MC for the day, and we are empowering communities to make change. In 2020, this occasion gives us the opportunity to be the voices of those that cannot be heard. We are stronger in unity as community. We have to speak up to stop violence and build stronger relationships with our youths, small businesses, and leaders. We are in challenging times. The rise of COVID, community unrest, we are coming to an important time to make changes for those that have passed due to disease, violence, and oppression. Don't be afraid to stand up for the community. Exercise your right to vote. Be the change, be the voice. I want to introduce Liz Reyes, who is facilitating our face painting workshop. Take it, Liz.
Hello everyone, my name is Elizabeth Reyes and I will be doing a quick tutorial on how to do a easy and fast sugar skull painting. I will be using Snazaroo face paint, which you can get at Michael's. I will be using 3 different size brushes. I have a number 10 filbert brown brush. This one's really good for like doing some quick designs. I also have a liner brush. This is a number 2. For making some really cool line thin designs. And then I have a very semi-medium round brush. This one's also good for making different thickness and lines. I am going to be using a sponge to apply the white on my face. I like a sponge. I also like a brush, but in this case I'll be using a sponge. This kit is really nice because it comes with a sponge and you get about 7 different colors. So I am just gonna apply this around my eye socket. Okay, so there goes my white. Now I am going to use my filbert round brush. It'll be kind of like an ovalish shape, not too much of a circle. Right under my brow bone. This paint is great for little kids because it is non-toxic, so if they get it in their eye, it's not gonna sting as bad. You can also add, once you've applied the black and that dries a little, you can also add a little bit of color in on top of the black just to give it a little bit of like a nice ombre type of look. So I'm going to add a little bit of red. Just going to try and blend it in there. I will wait just a little before applying the color because you don't want it to just blend with your black. It could make a nice burgundy color or it could turn brown. Ladies, if you're really good with makeup, this would be, eyeshadow would be a good replacement. Especially if you have glittery eyeshadow. For the nose shape, I like to think of it as an upside down heart with a crack on the top. So, kind of splitting my nose in half. Now I'm going to switch over to my line brush. This is the fairly thick one. I'm going to use this to start to make some designs on my face. I'm going to contour around my cheekbone and bring in that little side swirl. If you wanted to, you can also rub this down a little to create a little bit of shadow effect, kind of like the jawline. So you could just rub and press down. I like it to be a little smudgy. I feel like it looks a little bit more kind of realistic-y, shadowy. Okay, now I'm going to continue with my round brush. This is why I like these brushes, because you can press and pull and create these really pretty teardrop designs without very little effort. If you want to add some color, please feel free to do that. I like to stick to black and white mostly, because that's kind of how I learned to do it. We used to use just the basics, black and white, and so this worked great for us, and that's how I like to keep it with black and white. But you can add color. Okay, I'm gonna add some designs. Now I'm using my Filbert flat. This one again, it creates really cool teardrops just like the smaller ones. Just press and pull. Okay. If you wanted to add some flowers or any of that, those are always great add-ons. So I'm going to do a rose on the top, give it some leaves. Now I'm going to continue with some more designs on the face. I am going to bring back a little bit more white just to get around my lips. And if you are painting several people's faces, just remember to have enough sponges for several faces. You don't want to reuse the same sponge too many times on too many people. Okay, I'm going to add the lines for my jaw. Alright, I'm going to add the lines for the teeth. It's very lightly. Kind of curvy lines. And then the ones that go on your lips, ladies, you can choose to paint your lips whatever lipstick color you favor. I'm going to do black. And I just want to remind you guys, you know, we paint our face for Day of the Dead. It's just another way to honor our loved ones. Day of the Dead is one of those holidays that that I truly hold dear, because it's one of those days that we get to celebrate our loved ones who have passed and really celebrate and honor their lives. And this is just one other way that we can honor them, by painting our face. Red looks really nice on the lips, but I also really like black. And lipstick also works a little better, right? Because it's meant to be on your lips. I'm going to bring back these little lines. A little bit curved. And now I'm going to go back to my flower. It should be dry by now. Now I'm going to start outlining it. I don't want to outline it right away because you don't want your colors to just get really mixed up. If you're not sure how to paint a flower, think of triangles in a way. So I got one triangle here, one triangle there, a circle in the middle. All right, and then lastly, I am going to add some highlights to my flower. Just trying to create a little bit of a darker outline around my eyes. And then if you have little gems or anything like that that you would like to add, you can do that towards the end. I have these little stars that I bought at the dollar store. And I'm going to see how these work. So you want to wet the surface a little, very little. And then if you wanted to add more, you could. I think I would probably add maybe like some on the side, but I don't think I would add too many. I like to keep mine pretty as chill as I can get it. I'm gonna leave it like that. So this washes off really easily. It dries really good too. It's pretty dry already. You can see it doesn't really like smudge too much. Last thing you could do is just clean it all up. You can use your sponge to do that. Just clean up your edges really good. And that's it. Really easy for kids. Fun kit, non-toxic, and I hope you enjoy trying this at home and really, you know, thinking about your loved ones while you're in the process of doing it. And you know, you can even consider adding their name to your face if you're good with writing and using a paintbrush to do that. Ladies, if you have makeup and you have like really good eyeliners or those gel pens, those are great as well to add detail with. So I wish you well on your journey to painting your face, and enjoy. Thank you.
And now I would like to introduce Kimberly, who will be facilitating our sugar skull making workshop. Take it away.
Welcome. Today we will be making sugar skulls. We do want to make sure our hands are clean. We will be using sugar. We will also be using egg whites, and to decorate I have gel food color, and I also have some edible markers. These are the colors that I will be using: black, orange, green, and pink and purple. We want to make sure that we have parchment paper on a tray so we can place our sugar skulls on it. And we also need a bowl where we can put sugar and egg whites to mix. We also need a spatula, or a butter knife works as well. To start off, I will be adding 4 cups of sugar into the bowl. We want to make sure that it is measured carefully. Here goes 1, 2, 3, and 4. And this is how much we need. Now I am going to open the egg whites, and I have a measuring cup that is 1/3. I am going to fill that up halfway so that it is about 2 egg whites. Now right here I am speeding up the video because all we are doing is mixing, but we do want to make sure that we mix very well. Now that I have created a ball, we want to make sure the ball is pressed very firmly. That way our sugars do not fall or collapse. Now with my 2 fingers, I am squishing the bottom of the ball, making an almost half of a square. This will create the illusion of a skull or a jawline. Now as I continue to press, I want to assure that the top of the head stays the same shape, but that the bottom creates almost like a dead inwards type of shape. Now with my butter knife or with my spatula, I am going to create what looks like the teeth. And there you go. 1 sugar skull done. I'm going to create more sugar skulls. This recipe should leave you with about 6 to 7 sugar skulls. Now remember, we want to press from the bottom only, and we want to use the fingertips to create our eyes and to create our nose. After we complete our batch, if you want to, you can bake them if you want to eat them at 200 Fahrenheit for 45 to 55 minutes. If you do not want to eat them and you do not want to bake them, you can leave them outside to air dry for 24 hours. And then they should be good to decorate. So, these are my 5 sugar skulls that I have. I did leave one out just because I didn't like exactly how it came out. But these were my favorite ones. I am going to start decorating with the gel food colorings. And at this point, you can basically do any design that you would like. I am going in here with some red dots. Traditionally, is what you usually see on a sugar skull. Now right here, I am going in with edible inked markers. You do not want to use any regular marker if you are planning to eat these. You can find these markers at any local market. You can also buy them off Amazon if it's a better choice right now. But if you want to eat them, you do need edible inked markers. So these are our final products, decorated. I drew some flowers on this one. And my favorite one, Miss Heart Lady. Now remember that sugar skulls are meant to be decorated any way that you would like. And traditionally you would put the name of the person that you are remembering on their forehead. But it is totally up to you guys. Have a great day.
Now please enjoy a performance by Aztec Dance Chicago. Next, we have a Dia de los Muertos painting workshop by Jackie Arte.
Hi everybody, welcome. My name is Jackie. I go by Jackie Arte. Tonight we're going to be doing a really cool calavera or sugar skull, Day of the Dead inspired. So what we're going to start off with is a quick sketch. And all that sketch consists of, and I already did one, but I'll go with it with you guys, is almost like you're doing a circle. That's going to be the skull or the cranium. And then we're going to go off to the side, just a little bit to the side, and we're going to round off down here. That's basically going to give you a really cool shape of your skull. And then we got to find our middle point, which my middle point is going to be right about there. So what I'm going to do really quick is I'm going to turn it around towards me, and I'm going to do like an upside down heart. That's going to be the nose, because we want it to be kind of playful. Here we go. And then I'm going to do 2 circles. More like ovals. They don't have to be perfect. And then we're going to do a line, kind of like a smile. And we're going to do a couple lines in here. Just like that. All right, I hope you guys like that. The colors you should have or you'll be working with are going to be your primary colors, which is going to be red, blue, and yellow. So don't be afraid. You can make all kinds of colors with that, all right? And you're also going to have black and white. I normally do teaching classes, and so I always like to start from the back forward, which is what I tell my students. So we're going to start with the black, and we're going to do our background black. So I'm going to pour just a little bit. My canvas is slightly bigger than yours, and I'm just using a bigger canvas so that you can actually see. If I were to use a smaller one, you won't be able to see it too well. Then I'm going to take, you should have an array of brushes. The favorite one that I like, because it covers a lot, is going to be a flat top. So I wet my brush and I dried it up because I don't want the excess water. If you have excess water on your brush, that's going to make your paint runny and it's going to drip, and you don't want that. So what we're going to do is we're going to lay it flat, just like that. We're going to go around. This is going to give it a nice outline. And feel free to, you know, don't put too much paint. About that much is good. And then we're just going to go around like that. So we get some nice clean lines. And the reason I'm doing a black backdrop on this is so that the bright colors will stand out. If you don't want to use a black backdrop, that's fine. You could use something different. I believe in artistic liberty. So feel free to make it any color you desire. Just remember, we will be using those colors inside the skull. There you go. So I paint pretty quick. So it's going to take me a little less time maybe to paint my backdrop. But feel free to go ahead and paint your backdrop. I'm going to go ahead and do that real quick right here. And the reason I did the outline around it first is because it needs to dry first. And that's my first layer of paint. There we go. There we go. I always got to have music too while I'm painting. It's like, if I don't have música, I can't paint. If your backdrop looks a little choppy, that's okay. For me, it's more like you're just giving it texture. So don't feel like it has to be perfect, all right? There we go. Risas. You can also do some fun stuff with the backdrop. You know, once you're done with the painting and you can take it home, you could add some nopales to the back. You can add glitter to the back. You could splash paint on there. You could write the names of your loved ones that have passed away. You could do that on the forehead too if you want. Just ideas, you know? All right, here we go. I used up all my black paint. I'm gonna need some more. Bum, ba, ba, bum. All right, guys. Whenever I do classes for Dia de Muertos, I always talk about, you know, the significance of Day of the Dead or Dia de Muertos, and how it's truly a celebration of life, and how it means a lot to people in Mexico. There's regions that prepare for it almost all year long, especially like in Michoacán and Pátzcuaro, La Ciudad de Mexico, Mexico City. It's big festivities, and I like to make my calaveras happy and full of color, kind of like the one that's up there. And that's to celebrate life. This is why we have so many vibrant colors, and each color represents something different. Don't remember the significance of all the colors, but what I do know is that the marigold is one of the most important things that we use for Dia de Muertos. It's also called cempasúchil, and it's the flower of the dead. It's actually a Nahuatl word. It means, I think, flower of 400 petals. And we use that specifically because it illuminates the path for our loved ones back to us. Isn't that pretty? All right. Then I'm going to take another smaller brush. I'll show you guys right now. This is the brush that we're going to be using. See that? It's a smaller one. It's also flat, and it's flat top. I like these a lot because it gives me nice crisp lines. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to paint the eye black. Be conscious of how much paint you're putting on, because the more paint you apply, the longer it takes to dry. And I believe we only have 30 minutes to do this painting. So if you put a lot of paint on there, it's going to take you the 30 minutes, so don't do that. Alright. And the heart, well, the nose is like a little heart. It's upside down. And you know what? Feel free to move your canvas upside down or right side up, whichever way is easiest for you. There's no right or wrong way to do it. And the reason I'm doing this before I paint anything else is that once we're going to paint this white as well. And when we paint it white, you may lose the lines, or the lines may get, they may smear. And we don't want that, because then it's going to create gray. These are little tricks. So it's not really straight, but that's okay, because you know what? The sugar skulls are not very symmetrical either. So don't feel bad about it. All right, now I'm going to get a pointer brush. You see that right there? It's very thin, and I flatten it out. The reason I flatten it out is, once again, I like lines. So it looks like that. And every time I use a brush, I wet it first and then I dry it off. I don't dry it completely. I just make sure the excess water is off, because we don't want it to run. And if it starts to run, like I said, it's going to start dripping. And we have such a beautiful layout already that we don't want to ruin it. And not that you could really ruin a painting, but if you're on a time constraint or you got to hurry up and do some stuff, you don't want to have to wait for it to dry completely and then paint over it again. So to save yourself some headaches, make sure your brush is dry. So we're going to go here and we're going to do like a smiley face. And I'm not applying a lot. I'm applying very little, because once again, I need it to dry. You see? Just like that, guys. All right, now I'm going to pour some white. And I didn't want to add the line work to the skull like now. I wanted to add it afterwards, because it'll be easier. Once again, if you do the line work with your pencil, and also you'll probably be using an H2 pencil, it'll smear, and we don't want that, because it's going to create like a gray a gray look on there, which is not what we're going for. We want it to look like a sugar skull. So we'll do the lines afterwards, and I'm gonna show you a cheat way to do that. So now we're gonna pour some white. And remember what I said, the reason I did this part first is to make sure that it's dry. So some parts are wet, which is okay. I'm just making sure it's dry. Most of it's dry. There we go. Just that one little part was wet. That's okay. Make sure yours is dry. And we're gonna go ahead with that brush again, the one that we used for the background. I'm gonna dry it up. Make sure that there's no paint on there. This is how you could do the paint test, okay? It's wet and I don't have any paint on my hand. The water may be a little dirty, but because I've been painting. But if you don't see paint, like paint dripping, then it means it's clean. You always want to make sure you clean your brush, especially if you're going from a darker color to a brighter color. Since we've been using black and we're going to go into white, we got to make sure our brush is clean, okay? So we're going to do the same thing. Also, another little tip, if you're going to continue to paint at home and you're inspired by this and you want to do more in your casa, never let the paint get down here. When you do that, you could ruin your brush. And I'm all about taking care of my tools, right? This is my tool. So let's make sure we keep them clean. We're going to go ahead and we're going to start painting in. And the reason we want to paint it in is because it makes it a little bit more vibrant. And you also don't run the risk of like the paint not standing out. It's going to look kind of choppy if you don't paint it in. So this is almost like a primer. All right. The eye's dry. Eye's dry. My nose looks a little wet, but that's okay. See, and I'm just going right around the eye. And I don't want to use a lot of paint. Remember, guys, this has to dry. And the white also helps clean up the line work. Just like that. And you could tell if you've missed a spot, if you can't really see it, just get your canvas and go like that to it, and you'll see how it kind of, there's a glare to it. You want to see that glare. And where there's not a glare, that means that's where you got to paint it in. So I kind of got to see my own glare right now. There we go. Sauce. Okay. I'm gonna just keep going around. Now, here's the tricky part. Gotta make sure our mouth is dry. And mine is not completely dry. So, I'm going to paint around it. And this one's dry, so I could go over it. This one's a little dry, so I'm just going to go gently over it. Now, you see how I created that streak? That's not a problem. I'm going to get some more white, and I'm just going to kind of blend it out. There we go. These are still wet, so I'm just going to get in there. Now, I'm a little bit more experienced painter. If you want to just get in there and you don't want to go over the lines, what you could do is get the smaller brush and just paint it in. Which is what I would recommend you do. And I'll show you how to do that. We're going to use the pointer brush. And I'm just going to get in here real quick. right. Just like that. It doesn't have to be perfect. Cool beans. There you go, guys. All right. Now I got to make sure that my white's dry up here, which it's not. But that's going to give us time. So since we're using primary colors, we got to use the primary colors to blend, right? So our primary colors are going to be red, yellow, and blue. Okay, your colors may not look like mine, which is okay. It's gonna give you almost the same result. I normally like to do flowers, like flower petals around my eyes. You have to do flower petals. You could do dots, you could do circles. I'm gonna use like a pinkish color. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna get my red. And this is how I like to start. I like to start with my eyes first because that's going to map out everything else, okay? I'm going to start with my red, and I'm not going to pour a lot. I'm going to pour very little because if I do a lot, it's going to be more red than pink. And how you get pink is you add red and white. Simple as that. So just a little bit of red. And I'm going to use this small brush right here, okay? So all I'm going to do is get a little bit of red, like the tip of this right here. Maybe 2 of those, not too much. And more white than anything, so I get a nice puddle. I want it to be just a little lighter, so I'm going to keep adding white to it. There we go. So it's going to give me this nice color right there. You see that? I like that. So all I'm going to do now, this should have allowed time for my white to dry. So I'm just going to touch around it. Feels pretty good. I think we're in good shape. And this already gives you the shape of a petal, believe it or not. So what I like to do, just to map things out for myself, is I'm going to go right above here, not even an inch. It's going to be like, for you guys, it'll probably be 1/4 of an inch. You see how I did that? And all I did was just lay it flat and up. And I'm going to do that over here. Just like that. If it goes into the eye, that's okay. Because we're going to black it out again anyway, right? So we're going to go real quick again. And we're going to go in between those. Just like that. It's just a one stroke, okay? Don't worry about going slow. Don't worry about how fine it looks. Just a quick little stroke. And it's better if the paint is on the tip of the brush, just like that. And I'm going to go in the middle of these guys too. And do that. There we go. This one looks a little separated, but that's okay. I like to have like a color palette or a color scheme. So if I already got pink, I'm probably going to use a yellow and a green. Those are my favorites. Let's see here. Now to make green, we do a mixture of blue. You want to do very little blue, okay? Just because my blue is very dark. I don't know what kind of blue you have. But if you use a darker blue, use very little. Because this pigment will go a long way. Just a dot. And then we're going to do some yellow. If you want your green to be bright, use more yellow. You can even do a dot of white in it so that it stands out a little bit more. And let's see here. I'm going to get a dot of blue. Like that. And a bunch of yellow. And we're going to mix that. And it still came out a little dark, but that's okay. We're going to add a little bit more yellow to that. You see mine's coming out like this. It's coming out a little dark, but that's okay. I'm gonna add a dot of white to lighten it. Now, normally I tell people you never want to add white to anything to lighten it because it's gonna make it pastel, unless that's what you're going for. But in this case, since I'm mixing from scratch, it's okay if I use a little bit of white because it's not gonna be really pastel. And we have a really cool looking green, look at that. All right, so I'm gonna clean off my brush really good. So it looks like that. And we're gonna dot around. We're gonna dot around the nose, okay? So we're gonna do one big dot right there, one big dot there, on the corners, in the middle. And feel free to reapply, okay? You see? And we're gonna dot in between. The reason I do it like that is, once again, it helps me map it out so that it looks somewhat symmetrical. That one's a little bigger, but that's okay. Now, since we already have the green going, and I wanted to I want to use the green in other places, we're gonna go ahead and mix it up a bit, okay? Let's see here. The most common design you see are lines, and we're gonna stick with that. I like to do more traditional calaveras, so we're gonna do a dot right there, and the dot's going down like this. See that? And then we're gonna start with the line right here. And I'm just gonna twist my brush so I get a nice fine line. And let me fix that line up really quick. Just like that. Then I'm gonna go over here and do another one. Another one like that. And I'm just gonna keep going. And what you're doing is you're bringing the lines, you're angling it off so you could bring it back towards that dot. Pretend like the dot is the target, right? Where you want to end up at. But you don't let them touch. And then I just keep going. And to get that fine tip, all I'm doing is twisting and pulling up. Just like that. And then I could do a dot here, 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 and here. So I did 4 dots. Let's do the same 4 dots over here, 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 and here. All right. Let's add some yellow. You know what? Your yellow may be very translucent, which means it's going to be really transparent. So why don't we mix it up with a little bit of the red so we get a nice orange? You're going to have more yellow than red because red is your dark color again, okay? So you're going to pour yellow, a nice blop on there. And then you're going to do a tiny little dot. I'm going to do about that much. You guys ready? And let's get orange. And once again, it's going to look a little weird at first, but if you add a dot of white to this, it's going to give you a nice orange color. Let's go ahead and add a dot of white. And I'm just mixing it up, mixing. Now, if you don't want to use these colors that I'm making, feel free to use your own color. You don't have to do it like this. This is just what I want to do. And I'm going to give it kind of like what we did here. I'm going to do down here on the teeth, but let me clean my brush off really good. The reason I'm cleaning it off, even though I'm using it to blend, is that all the paint's down here, and I don't want that. All right, so here we go. And we're just going to fill in the teeth like that. And we're going to do that down here as well. We're going to give it a dot right around the middle. Go up a little bit higher. And then the last one, you can go all the way up here like this. Now, I like to fill in stuff. So I'm going to use my green again. And I'm going to do a line here and a line there. So it ties it all together. And I'm going to do the same thing down here. And I'm going to do that line like that. And I'm also gonna dot some more. Do a dot right there, a dot right there. Just like that. And last but not least, I'm gonna go in with my black again. Now you can add more to this, guys, okay? Don't feel like this is the end of it. You can add more lines in there. You can add more polka dots. You can potentially add flowers around this. So there's a lot that could be done. We were just limited with time for this. So I'm just gonna make my circles where they were. And I wanna make sure that my lines over here are good to go as well. So I'm just gonna go over it one more time and make sure that it's bold. And there we go, guys. And make sure you design your canvas. Make sure that everybody knows that you painted this, okay? Thank you so much for watching, for hanging out. Have a feliz Dia de Muertos, and until next time. Bye, guys.
And now for our papel picado workshop facilitated by artist and crafter Thelma Uranga. Take it away, Thelma.
Hello everyone, my name is Thelma Uranga. I'm going to teach you how to make two different kinds of papel picado today. But first I wanted to tell you a little bit about the history of it and how it is used today, especially for Day of the Dead or Dia de los Muertos. So papel picado, actually many cultures have their own version of cut paper or decorative paper. Mexico's version is called papel picado. And the Aztecs actually made their own version of it using papel amate or bark paper. And they used it to decorate for various celebrations. Basically, the papel picado that we know now that is made out of tissue paper was brought with the Spanish. And so tissue paper, or papel de China, as it was known. And so they brought it from China, where tissue paper was used to package many fragile objects. So, and also for Day of the Dead, papel picado is very important because an ofrenda has many important components. The tissue paper is basically when you see it moving with the wind, it is a good signifier that your loved one has arrived, that they've arrived to their ofrenda, and that they're with you for this day of celebration. So the kind that we're going to make, this is more of a handmade. We will make this one with a series of folds and cuts, very similar to a snowflake. And then we're also going to make a more intricate design. And this one has words, you can see, and there's a totally different way of doing this. And this one, as you can see, is Hay que votar con ganas. And so very similar to the theme of Muertos de la Risa this year, to vote and to inspire everyone who can vote to vote, because it's really important this year. So we are, for the supplies that you will need for our folded papel picado, you'll need some tissue paper. If you buy the large sheets, I usually cut it down into 4s. You'll just need some scissors. I like smaller scissors because they help you get in there. Some really thin string so that we can string it later, and a glue stick. For our more intricate design with words, you will also need tissue paper. This is an X-Acto blade handle. I like this one because it's nice and cushiony, especially when you're really trying to get in there. You'll also need some blades. And I like to use this cutting mat and some clips and some tape, just so that I have something that I can cut into, that I'm not going to damage any surface. And the tape just kind of helps keep everything in place, as well as the clip. So we'll get started in a minute. All right, so the first papel picado that we're going to make is really easy. It's very similar to a snowflake. And so it just requires a few folds and cutting with your scissors. So the first thing that we're gonna do is we're going to cut our flap for our, for when we have to string it later. So we're just gonna fold a little flap. This will be the top of your papel picado later on. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna flip it over, and we're gonna fold it in half like a book. And so now our flap is on the outside again. So this is our folded side and this is our open side. And this is really important because this will determine how you continue to fold and cut.
So with your folded side, not the open side, because that'll give you a totally different design, you're gonna bring the folded side and fold it up towards the flap, just like that. So you just want it to meet where your flaps start. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna take this folded side and we're gonna fold it up one more time. Usually if this is your first time making papel picado, this is where I stop as far as folds. Once you get the hang of it, you can definitely fold one more time. But for the sake of, you know, simplicity and introduction, we'll stop here. So now what we have this interesting little shape going on. And this big old piece right here, you want to cut this off. And usually you see papel picado with like a scallop shape. You can cut a triangle, but you basically want to cut this off. So we'll do a simple scallop shape. So again, this is where our flap is. This is our folded side. And what we want to do is we want to cut all along the fold. So just like a snowflake, you're going to cut shapes into it. And you don't want to go past this line. So you can just keep cutting along that fold. And then what you're going to do is you're going to open this once. So just the way that you fold it up, you're now going to unfold it again. And now we have a new fold that we want to cut against. And you just want to be careful that you don't end up cutting into your previous shapes, because that will kind of ruin, or, you know, you won't get these fun little shapes in your papel picado. So that was one fold. So now what I'm going to do is open it again, and we're not done because we still have this center fold. So we can still cut along that one. And the more you get used to it, you'll kind of start to see how, you know, all your shapes will cut into each other. You'll really start to see what happens when you use that negative space. I'll talk a little bit more about negative space in the next design that we make. But what's going to happen, so you're going to open it up, and now you have this great papel picado. You know, like I said, once you get used to it, you can stack maybe 2, 3 at a time and start cutting them. But then eventually you're going to have to string them. So I have a few over here that I've already done. And I like to use this really thin string. And so if you're using this for decorations or for your ofrenda, you'll want to have a good amount of string. So usually what I do is I will leave, you know, maybe about like 6 inches. And then I will start, because, you know, we want to be able to hang this. Maybe 6, I don't know, maybe a little bit more, so that we have something to tie it onto or to tape it onto. And so with our string, we're gonna open up our flap. We will lay our string down. I have a glue stick. Glue will work too, but I do find that this is faster and easier. So usually I will just do a quick little run with my glue stick. I also like to go right over the string so it stays in place. And then you're gonna fold it right over. And so because we're stringing this at this point, you want all of it to face the same way. So the flap is the back, and then this will be the front. So you want it all to look nice and uniform and the same. And then a good rule of thumb for spacing them out, I like to do about 3 fingers. And so I will take my next one. And I'm gonna go over it again with my glue stick. Try to go over that string so it'll stay in place. And then again, we'll just fold it over. And as you can see, this one's a little bit more intricate. I did do that extra fold, so it gives you a good amount of extra designs. And so yeah, as you keep going, you will find that you have a really beautiful string of papel picado. They're great decorations, like I said, for a party, if you're making a Day of the Dead ofrenda. It gives it this really nice handmade quality. And like I said, they're very much like a snowflake, in which every one of them is very unique in its own. So I hope this helps. Enjoy, and I hope to see your papel picado designs. All right, so now we're gonna make a more intricate papel picado design. As you can see, this one has words in it, so we're gonna cut it flat. And then it has a few nice little design elements. Sometimes you'll see papel picado that comes with like a grid, but for the sake of doing this one today, I thought, you know, these little decorative elements would make it fun and playful, but also very much bring this message forward of, you know, we really have to give it all when we go vote. And, you know, especially with that being the theme of Muertos de la Risa this year. Just really quickly, because it can take a while to do this. So like I said, you can tell that my tissue paper is flat. There's no folding for this, but I am leaving some room along the top for that flap that we're gonna do when we come to string our papel picado later. The most important part is our lettering. And earlier I mentioned negative space. In this papel picado design, the positive space is the letters. So that's like all the space that the letters are taking up. And when I was learning to make papel picado, I approached it completely the wrong way, and I was trying to cut the letters out. But we're actually gonna cut out the negative space. So the negative space is everything in between the letters, and then what we have is tissue paper for the letters. And that's what makes, you know, these more intricate designs really look beautiful. And so people can really tell the difference. So this one, you know, I did the lettering in Photoshop. You could probably also do it in Word or something similar. And then I drew out the rest. You can find a few templates online as well. If you just kind of Google papel picado templates, you can find a number of resources. So when I'm doing something like this, I like to start right away with the letters. I like to get in there and do all these little bits and pieces, and then I like to go on the outside and do all of those other. So, and then actually these spaces right here, I leave these for the end as well, because I don't want to be pulling on those. And so I have my X-Acto blade. This one's really great because it has a nice little cushion on it. And it just comes into handy as you're cutting. And so I'm not sure if I mentioned, but I do have a few sheets stacked. I've done up to 10 or 11, and so this is great because it goes by faster when you're actually cutting them. And so you just want to make sure that you're getting through to all of your layers. Let's see. So my last layer here is yellow. So that is a really good indicator of if I've cut all the way through. If I see green, which is the color of my mat, I know I'm there. I like to keep a bowl because it just makes everything neater. Every now and then you will also notice that your blade starts to dull. So I also like to toss my blade in the bowl so that it doesn't get lost and doesn't end up falling on the floor. No one gets hurt. But you do want to be careful. It's a very sharp blade. Sometimes like the little point will fly off. So just be mindful. And so as you can see, I'm also just cutting out the negative space of the letters right now. And then I'll go back in and do the space in between the letters. See, there went the tip of my blade. And, you know, everyone's got their own style. I'm definitely not a perfectionist, so I don't mind that, you know, I'm not going to lose sleep over some of these little pieces not being completely even, but that is all up to you. So now I can go in and cut in between the letters. Either way, it's going to look fabulous because you got these letters going on, you got this great message. And people, you know, when you tell people you made it, they're going to be so impressed. You'll also notice that I have my bottom layers of tissue paper taped down because I don't want this budging at all. I'm also using this clip at the top that helps keep my main design in place. You know, like I said earlier, it's very much a stencil, so you don't want your stencil moving and flying around. Usually, you know, once I get the hang of this, I love to either have a movie on or some music or some TV, just something to kind of help pass the time. Usually with circles, I don't, you know, these like curves are really hard. So what I will do is I will cut down the middle, and then I will go and tackle these little round bits. You can also take a look and see how everything's going, where you need to get rid of those little pieces. But you can also start to see that your letters are forming, which is really fun. All right, so now we can take a look and see what our first line looks like. Not bad. All right, got a few little very nice pieces dangling on. So you can kind of see. Those usually tend to come off once you're closer to done. So now we get to I still have to go in and get big middle word with that. This end is very easy. It's just 2 triangles. So if you look closely, you'll notice that this G has a little bit of space. So we don't want to miss those little details because it really helps drive home that message. And you don't want people looking at your letters and being like, what's going on there? So yeah, it's teeny tiny, but it makes a difference. All right, so this S has a few things going on, so I'm just gonna go with those curves first. All right, looking good. So basically everything else we're no longer paying attention to positive and negative space. And we're just gonna go ahead and cut out all these little decorative pieces to make it look pretty and festive. we have our letters, we have the bottom decor cut out. So I'm just gonna keep working through this. You can see my stencil has moved a little bit. It's not a very big deal at this point. Just as long as we're not cutting into those letters, we should be good. So, and then I just see a few empty spots that I might just, you know, add in some extra little decorative points. But yeah, I'm gonna just keep working on this and I will be back with something closer to done. All right, we are almost done. So I went ahead and cut out all my extra little decorative elements. I cut out these extra spaces that I like to leave to the end on the outside of these letters. So now I just have these big spaces right here that are left. One thing that we do have to do with this is we have to cut those decorative scallop edges on their own. If you remember with the folded or the snowflake-like papel picado, we cut that off at the very beginning. We make, you know, a little decorative edge. So sometimes I will draw it out on my stencil and cut it out, but we're going to do it by hand this time. It's really just a matter of preference. Yay! All right, so this is going to be our flap right here, more or less. Just going to make myself a little marker so that I know where I need to be falling within. And then I'm just going to go ahead and make a little rounded edge. And I'm keeping my white stencil on here so that I have an idea of where everything is at. Usually with this edge, I like to round it out. And then just keep going. All right, so this is the best part because we get to see our whole design. And this is also, you know, at the beginning I taped these sides down, so that doesn't matter at all. That doesn't affect our design because we can just lift that up all the way around. Don't want to tear this completely off because sometimes some of those corners didn't completely get cut. So, and now we get to see what our papel picado looks like. Oh, yay! Oops. Ooh, we can start to see all of our other colors though. They're really pretty. So I'll put this over here. And now we have a whole bunch of different papel picados. Yeah, so this one just has a few little snaggy pieces. They'll usually come off. But yeah, just want to be careful with them. Oh, I'm so happy with the way this turned out. And similar to the way that we strung our other papel picado, we will, you can go ahead and fold your flap now so that you don't have to do them one by one. So yeah, you always want to flip them over because you want the front to be nice and clean and without that little flap. And let's say you made a whole bunch of these and you know your family or whoever you're at home with right now during this time, it really helps if you have like someone sitting here and someone maybe next to you or right off to the side, and you guys can string together and it just goes so much faster. Especially like I said, if you're getting ready for some kind of like, you know, a celebration at home or something and you don't want to spend the whole day stringing these, it'll go much faster. I like to try and push the string up sometimes, but it's not a huge deal if you don't. So we have one that's strung. And we'll just keep undoing our string. All right, and so then as you go, you can just keep folding them like this so that they lay on each other. You can stack them up nicely until you're ready to hang them. But this is what it will look like. I tore, it's not a huge deal. You can also see this one right here. So I hope this inspires you to make your own papel picado designs, to play around, see what works for you. I personally love both kinds of designs. I don't really have a preference. It just really depends on the occasion or what's going on. And more than anything, I hope you have a voting plan that you have already voted, or that you plan on voting on election day, because it's really important. Enjoy.
And now we would like to transition to our digital procession. for our performance by the Aztec dancers, Nahui, Ollin.
Somos Nahui, Ollin, danzas ceremoniales de México. Lo que van a ver ahora es una recreación de la cultura, la música y la danza de México, una parte que le llamamos danza de concheros o danza azteca. Y lo primero que vamos a hacer un saludo a las 4 direcciones, al norte, al sur, al este y al oeste. Y también en este saludo vamos a honrar a las personas que nos antecedieron, a nuestros muertos, nuestros seres queridos, a la gente que amamos y que ya no está con nosotros. Así que esperamos que disfruten. Esto es Nahui, Ollin, danzas ceremoniales de México. Y lo primero es el saludo de las 4 direcciones. Lo siguiente, vamos a hacer una danza que es dedicada a una deidad de los antiguos mexicanos, los antiguos pueblos que poblaron Mesoamérica, que se llamaba el Anáhuac. Anáhuac quiere decir la tierra entre dos aguas. Y la danza se llama Quetzalcóatl. acompáñenos con sus palmas ustedes. Así, vamos a hacerlo de esta manera. Ponen sus palmas juntas y empezamos. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. Ok. Cuando llegamos al número 4, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. Ponemos las manos adelante para hacer una pequeña pausa. ¿Ok? 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Sígale. Lo mismo, pero en lugar de hacer las manos hacia adelante, van a hacer 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4 y alzan las manos arriba. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. Hey, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. Hey, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 4. Todo el mundo, 1, 2, 3. ukayando. Saitama saita, ukayandita. Saitama saita, ukayando. Saitama saita, ukayandita.
Hey everyone, thanks for joining us for the 41st Annual Muertos de la Risa. We really appreciate you participating in this event. Now join us for some hot chocolate and some fun.